How's it going, guys? It's Nappa here. Last Friday, so almost a week ago, I picked up a Nintendo Switch from my local GameStop. And the Switch is a system that, from the beginning, I've been planning on purchasing one, right from when it was announced. But I figured I would wait until there was, at least two games out that I wanted to play for it. And now there is, and those two games are Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey. Currently, I only have Mario Odyssey. I kind of ran out of funds after purchasing the system. I was barely able to get Mario Odyssey. But I will be picking up Breath of the Wild in the future. And I kind of want to give my opinion on the Switch, just kind of make a rambling video about it. This isn't going to be like a super in-depth review or anything like that. I'm not a technology channel, but there's a lot of things I feel that I can kind of say about the Switch that's, kind of informative. And like I said, it's going to be more of a rambling video than a actual review. But I guess we're just going to get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is the JoyCons, the controllers you use to play your games. Now, the JoyCons themselves are actually incredibly comfortable to use in almost any form or fashion. If you play with them separate, like this, you can have your hands however you want them. If I'm sitting in a chair, I'll have one arm on each armrest, or maybe I'll just sit with my arms crossed in front of me, Really, you can hold them however you want, and they're comfortable in every possible way. I did not expect a controller so small to be so comfortable, but it really does work, especially with the way they made the shoulder buttons. I'm glad they made the shoulder buttons large enough to where they're not, real cramped to hit. If you don't like playing with them separated, if you have the console docked, and you don't like playing with them separated, the system does come with a kind of controller mount for the Joy-Cons, and you can just kind of slide them in there, and in doing so, you kind of have more of I accidentally pressed a button on the controller, so that's why that light's on, but you kind of have more of a traditional controller. Now, this is actually the least comfortable way to play games on the Switch, I feel personally, but that might just be because my hands are fairly large. This just feels a little bit cramped, especially the thumb placement. My sister, however, came over yesterday, and she was playing Mario Odyssey a little bit, and I had her try out the regular old, controller mount, because her hands are smaller than mine, and she said that it was actually pretty comfortable for her. So I guess it depends. If you got big hands, it's not going to be super comfortable, but if you have small hands, apparently the controller mount works pretty well. But regardless, whether or not you use it, it does come with it, and it is kind of nice that it comes with that option available. So yeah, the Joy-Cons are comfortable, they're versatile, and they have a great battery life, too. The Switch itself, and I'm going to talk more about this later, but the Switch itself lasts anywhere from 3 to 4 hours, and the controllers, actually, I have not run them anywhere near dead. In a 4-hour play session, I have not seen the battery bar drop once, so I'm not entirely sure what the battery life is, but I can promise you it is a longer battery life than a PS4 controller, and it's probably a longer battery life than what you would see with the Xbox One controller if you're using rechargeable AA's. These things have phenomenal battery life. I literally played for about 8 hours in split sessions one day, and these things did not die. So I know that they last at least 8 hours. That is incredible. So, enough talking about the Joy-Cons, which are really a highlight for me for the Switch. They are really awesome. Just an innovative way to play games, really. I've never seen anything like it, but it works really well. Talking about the Switch itself here, the screen, when it's in non-docked mode, that is a paradox right there. Look at that. The screen, when it's not docked, is 720p, and it runs most games at about 60 FPS. You do experience some chugging in more demanding areas of games, like in Mario Odyssey. If I go to New Donk City, I usually dip down to about 6... well, it's not like it really dips down to a permanent 30 frames, but you do see some chugging. It does stutter a little bit every now and again. For the most part, though, very solid 60 FPS, docked or not docked. As I already mentioned, the battery life on this thing is 3 to 4 hours. So, that's not bad. My phone gets about 4 hours screen on time, and it's nowhere near... Well, actually, it is almost, because I got the S6 Edge Plus. It actually is almost as big a screen as this. But regardless, about 4 hours battery life isn't terrible. If you're just going over to a friend's house and you want to bring it in portable mode, or if you're going somewhere for a day trip, that's more than enough to last you. It's only if you're going on extended trips or going to be away from home for a long time that the 4-hour battery life might impede you and get in your way. Luckily, the charger isn't huge. The charger is bigger than your typical phone charger because it kind of also acts as a power brick for the dock. But you can plug it in most any outlet, and it's not going to be clunky to carry around. It's large, but it's not so large that it's going to be super clunky and inconvenient to carry around. And the cord is fairly long, so you have if you have an opportunity to charge it, you're going to be able to. And that was a very redundant statement I just made. That was kind of dumb, even by my standards. but the one gripe I have is the charging port is on the bottom. And what this means is, if you're charging it, you cannot pull out the kickstand, set it down on a table as such, which I can't really show you. Well, I guess I can set it down like that with the kickstand. You can't really do that and play with the Joy-Cons separated from the system because it charges from the bottom. So if you're charging it, you have to have the Joy-Cons attached to the side, and you can't have the kickstand out because it is plugged in right at the bottom. Speaking of the kickstand isn't that great in my opinion. I was hoping for something a little bit more stable. For whatever reason, they decided to place the kickstand on the side of the system. And what that means is, if it experiences even a minor bump or a knock from the opposite side of the kickstand, it is prone to tipping over. The kickstand doesn't tip back very far either, so you don't get much of an angle, so you might want to have it sitting a little bit further away from you than you might think if you have it sitting on a table. Because like I said, you don't get that much. I'd say that's maybe like a 20 or 30 degree angle. So yeah, not the best kickstand. It works, and I've used it several times, and it never really fell over. But if you're like on an airplane or something like that, I would not trust the kickstand. If you have the system sitting anywhere rather precarious where it has potential to fall and get damaged, I would not use the kickstand if at all avoidable. It works when you need it to, but it's just not super reliable. The next thing I want to talk about is the rails in which the Joy-Cons actually connect, because there is a bit of a manufacturing issue with these, and it's quite widespread and common. I honestly forgot I made coffee before I started recording this, and now it's almost cold. The rails actually have... excuse me, have a bit of an issue. The right Joy-Con, when you slide it onto the Switch, it is very tight, it's very firm, there's no slop really hardly in the movement at all, it's very stiff. But then the left Joy-Con, and this is an issue for many, many people, it just kind of slides in very easily, snaps in very easily, and there's quite a bit of slop. You can see it right there. There's a little bit of slop to the movement, and mine was like this out of the box, which is what prompted me to Google it, and apparently this is a very huge manufacturing issue. I mean, it's not a huge issue, but it's a widespread issue, is what I should have said. Sometimes this results in the Joy-Con accidentally becoming detached if you happen to bump the button on the back here, which is how you release the Joy-Cons. Whereas the right one, you can bump the button and it doesn't slide off. If you accidentally bump this button, it's going to slide off. Also, sometimes the left Joy-Con will come disconnected from the system itself while it's connected to the left rails. Like, it won't detect the controller, and you'll have to rebind it to your system because of how loose that connection is. So the left Joy-Con is a bit of a problem. I rarely ever play with the Joy-Cons connected to the Switch itself, so it's not that big of a deal. When it's not connected to the Switch itself, it doesn't come unbound from the system ever that I've experienced, so it's not a huge deal for me, but it is a manufacturing issue, and I thought I'd bring it up. The Switch has 32 gigabytes of internal memory, which you would think isn't a lot, but Nintendo is doing a really good job of keeping file sizes for their games at a minimum. Mario Odyssey, which is just a massive game, it's one of the biggest Mario games I think I've ever played, and it's only 5.6 gigs. A little bit more with the updates, I think, because I think there was like a patch or something like that. So it's about almost 6 gigs. And that's a huge game. NBA 2K18 on the Switch, I think, was only like 7 gigs or something like that. Most games do not exceed 10 gigs. So usually you'll be able to fit 5 or 6 games in the internal memory of this thing. And the beauty of it is you can expand the memory with nothing more than your standard. I'm going to disconnect these JoyCons just so that nothing happens to them or anything like that. Because like I said, I don't really trust the rails. But underneath the kickstand here, which feels kind of flimsy, I would be careful with that if, you know, I am careful with it. But if you purchase a Switch, I'd be careful because this really feels kind of flimsy. Underneath the kickstand is a micro SD slot. And I'm not sure what the maximum storage is you can have on this thing. I think I read somewhere, it's somewhere in the realms of 126 gigs or something. It might be more than that. I'm not 100% sure. I should have looked it up before I made this video. But regardless, even if it is 126 gigs, which is what I'm kind of... I feel like that's what it is, if I remember correctly. That's a lot of games if none of them exceed over 10 gigs. And then, obviously, because they're just micro SDs, you can store other games. If you do fill up 126 micro SD, you can get another 126 gigabyte micro SD on the cheap, because micro SD cards are becoming extremely, extremely affordable, and you can just have a second card. It's not that hard. Storage is very, very well done with this thing. More systems need easily expandable memory. They really do. I want to talk a little bit about the games in the library that this thing is getting. So far, it has some great games on it, and more great games are coming in the future. I mean, it has Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which was on the Wii U, but now we have a better, more complete version of it in Deluxe. So it's got that. It's got Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which most people are saying is going to be the game that wins Game of the Year. You know, one of the most popular games of the last few years that I can remember. It's got Mario Odyssey, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite Mario titles of all time, right up there with Mario Sunshine and Mario 64. Nothing will ever surpass Mario 64 in my opinion, but it's getting up there. It is really a great game in my opinion. I love it. And it's getting more great games. It's getting L.A. Noire. L.A. Noire, the full game on a portable device. How awesome is that? It's getting Skyrim. Portable Skyrim. Technology. It's awesome. Portable Skyrim. And just more games coming down the line. Awesome games. Like, the future of this system is already looking more promising and becoming more promising than the Wii U ever could. The Switch has already surpassed half of the Wii U's lifetime sales, so I'm pretty sure that's going to be good motivation for Nintendo to make a lot of good games for it. It might even be motivation for third-party developers, like Bethesda, like Rockstar, to put games on the Switch. And I hope that this is the case, because if we can get some of these great third-party games on a portable device, that is amazing, because I've always loved portable gaming, but it's kind of fallen by the wayside. The PSP was a great system with a lot of great games, and then the Vita came out, and it was a great system, but it never got any games. It was like Sony just jumped ship on the Vita way too early. The 3DS had a lot of great games, but it didn't really get any third-party games, understandably, because it wasn't a very powerful system, and a lot of the good games on 3DS were kind of more along the lines of JRPGs, story, driven games. Not a whole lot of games that I myself was too interested in, other than games like Pokemon, some of the Mario games, Mario Kart 7. The 3DS had some good games, but, I mean, if we get the games that we've been promised on this, it's not even gonna be a competition. The library so far is looking really promising, and it's already got some great games on it. Speaking of the games available, the downside is, right now, on the Nintendo eShop for the Switch, there is no Virtual Console. That's kind of a downer. I was really looking forward. I opened up the Virtual Console the other day. Or not the Virtual Console. I opened up the Nintendo eShop the other day, and I was so excited to see what kind of old and classic games I could take on the go with me now. And there were none, because there is no Virtual Console yet. It is coming. Nintendo has promised it down the pipeline, possibly even an N64 Virtual Console. If I can play the original Mario 64 on the Switch with the JoyCons, that is worth $300 to me already. It really is. I really hope that they get the eShop out, or the Virtual Console out soon, and that there's some great launch games to go along with it. One downside to the Switch, the online service will become paid in early 2018. Now, as of right now, if you own a Nintendo Switch and you have a game like Splatoon 2 or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you can play those games online for free right now. Unfortunately, Nintendo is going the way of Sony and Microsoft, and they're going to have a paid subscription that allows you to access their games every year. Basically, also though, I must say, the subscription price is only set at $29.99. So when it comes out next year, when the subscription is made available next year, it will only be $29.99 per year, which is considerably less than the $60 that Sony and Microsoft ask of you every single year. So I was really glad to see that, because I really wasn't going to pay $60 to play Nintendo games online. I wasn't going to do that. But now that I see that it's $29.99, I may very well pick up a year subscription when it comes out, so that I can play games like Mario Kart 8, maybe if we get like a new Smash Brothers game, or whatever other good multiplayer games there are. Also, this subscription is going to allow you to download certain Virtual Console games when it's made available for free. It's just like how you get your PS Plus free games and your games with gold on Xbox Live. You're going to get some Virtual Console games. Now, you're only going to be able to access these games just mind-bafflingly. You can only play these games for free for that month that they're available. And then after that, they're removed from your library, and you have to buy them if you want to play them. So basically, you're getting month-long demos. I mean, it's something, I guess. I wish they would just give you some of the older NES games. Although, I guess, one of the reasons they might be taking the games out of your library for a month, I would have to imagine, is because the library of games for the NES and other old systems is set. There's a set number of games that, they can make available. And if they were giving them away for free, after a few years, they would have given away a large chunk of the games that people might have bought. And, it's not like PS Plus or Xbox Live where, they're giving out games that are current and new, and, games are constantly coming out, and you're getting games that are a few years old. It's, you're getting classic games, and there's only so many classics. So I guess that makes sense. Just some miscellaneous points I want to cover before I end the video. And I kind of mentioned it already, but the price point of this thing is $300, which, in my opinion, this system is more than worth it. $300 for a new system is unheard of nowadays. You look at like the PS4 and the Xbox One, and this thing doesn't have the power of the PS4 or the Xbox One. I will admit it. It is 1080p when it's docked, 720p on the tablet, but it looks great on the tablet screen anyways because it's such a small screen. But it doesn't have the processing power or the graphical fidelity of the other next-gen systems, or current-gen systems, I guess. But still, for $300, and the amazing games that are on it, and the fact that it's portable as well as a console, it well then exceeds its value. I mean, $300 for this system, I would have been willing to pay $400 in all honesty. There will be a Christmas shortage. I promise you there will be a Christmas shortage of the Switch. These things were almost impossible to get up until just a couple months ago, and you got to realize they released in January. So there has been a massive shortage, and come Christmas time, when everybody's getting them for their kids or for themselves for Christmas, there will be a shortage. So if you plan on getting one soon, if you really want to play Mario Odyssey, if you want to get one before early next year, do it now, because Christmas is soon approaching, and these systems are going to be nearly impossible to find. And one final thing I want to cover before I end this video, also, that I kind of forgot to mention. Actually, I got a piece of paper over there with like bullet points of things I wanted to talk about, and I actually forgot to write this down. Nintendo has actually kind of embraced the present. They have a little bit of social media integration. If you look at the left Joy-Con, there's this little button. My camera's not really focusing. I'm trying to get it to focus. Well, anyways, it's basically just a black square with a red circle, or not a red circle, but a circle inside of the square. You press that button and it takes a screenshot. And lo and behold, you are no longer limited to only posting your screenshots to Nintendo's own weird proprietary, system-specific social space. You can actually post your screenshots to Facebook, Twitter, wherever you want to put them. And I've already used this feature a little bit myself, and I gotta say, it works pretty well. And I'm glad that there's at least a little bit of social media integration. I wish you could record your gameplay like there was a built-in DVR, but I can also really understand why you can't. The system's $300, and to build in a DVR would not only require a lot of processing power, but it would increase the price of the system quite a bit. So I'm happy with just screenshots. It is what it is. It is cool that Nintendo is embracing like actual social media integration and not the pseudo social media kind of thing they had going on with the Wii U. Anyways, guys, that's the video. My overall opinion of the Nintendo Switch is it's a great system. It has its flaws, like the left Joy-Con issue, you know, the kickstand, the the paid online play, if I could actually speak. But overall, I think it is a really great system. I think it was definitely worth a purchase. I'm glad I did get one. And for the library games it has and will be getting, if you are a Nintendo fan at all or just a gamer in general, you will want one eventually. So, thanks for watching, guys. I will catch you in the next one.